it's Wednesday and we're back with another video. What are we doing today?
So in this video, we're going to be discussing some topics that Hellen Zille covered.
Okay.
About minimum wage and reducing inequality.
Okay.
Let's just check out this clip first.
Okay.
And then you tell me what you think about it.
Okay, cool.
How's the DA going to deal with inequality when the DA is saying that do away with the minimum wage because it is hampering employment?
The best way to deal with inequality is to get people into jobs. The minute people are in jobs and earning, the Gini coefficient goes down, which is the measure of inequality. So critically, you've got to get people into jobs. We're a country with about 7 to 8 million registered personal taxpayers. Mm-hmm. We've got over 20 million grant recipients. That is totally unsustainable for any country. You just have to do the maths. So it's critical to get more and more and more people into jobs. And one of the things that is hampering job creation is the hurdles that people have to go through to employ people and the almost impossibility of releasing people if they're not doing the job or if they're firing them.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things make people think, well, it's too risky and too difficult to start a business that employs people because the labour regulations make it just impossible for us to do that. And so we're saying take away the barriers to employment. Anything in South Africa that creates a barrier to employment is bad.
Is that the assessment or the review that you got from business and investors? Because I'm also wondering that if those are the issues that they are raising, how come then the Western Cape still has the lowest unemployment rate? Because the Western Cape was able to achieve the lowest unemployment rate with those impediments that the Democratic Alliance is speaking of, including a minimum wage.
Well, when you add up all the impediments together, they become impossible in the other provinces. So if you add up roads that don't work, dirty water, no electricity, corruption, no street lights and traffic lights, you can't transport your products, etc., plus all of those labour impediments, you say, to hell with this. This is really not worth it. But every now and again, there are studies that say what are the biggest impediments to investment. Currently, the biggest impediment to investment, obviously, is the energy crisis, together then with BEE. People say they're not going through all of the stuff, and they're not going to invest in South Africa or start new businesses or expand their businesses because of these barriers.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest barriers is the labour regime. So in the DA in the Western Cape, we're reducing all the barriers we can. We're trying to reduce the cost of energy. We're trying to make energy secure. We're ensuring that people have clean water, refuse removal, good sanitation, massive investment in infrastructure, no corruption. That takes away a whole range of impediments to investment and job creation. Mm-hmm. We have still a whole lot left that the labour regime imposes, and if we could reduce those, we'd have many, many, many more people in employment, which is what we want.
How much would the Democratic Alliance pay the lowest paid worker a month?
The Democratic Alliance does not pay workers.
No.
Businesses pay workers.
Sure, we currently have a minimum wage, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to look up the figure now, just forgot it now, but just over 3.7, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the minimum wage per month. What would the Democratic Alliance say that this is an okay amount to pay somebody that is below 3.7?
I would never, ever pay anybody 3.7. I think it's far too low. And I never have...
Why do away with the minimum wage?
Because that's my choice and that's a market choice.
Yeah.
The point is you must...
Listen,
Aldrin, don't ask me. Ask people who are unemployed what they're prepared to work for. If they're not prepared to work for what's on offer, they don't have to. But the point is you let the market regulate that, not me. It's got nothing to do with Hellen Zille. When I employ people, as I have in the past, look at what I've paid them and look at my... That's between me and the person. Do they want the job?
Is that an approach of a government?
Yes.
That you decide whatever you want to pay your workers, and if the worker's willing to accept 500 Rand a month, that's okay. Is that it?
Let me tell you what is okay. What is okay is to allow the market to find the level and to enable people to get into work. Don't ask me, don't ask the theoreticians, ask the people who are unemployed and desperate for work. Ask them. Let them tell you if they're prepared to work for X and Y. If they're not, then they won't take it, and the wages will go up to attract workers.
So what are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, that's a very extreme viewpoint. I mean, to be honest, I hear what she's saying about like the market dictating, right? I feel like situations like that kind of would work in a perfect world scenario that she probably has in her head ringing when she makes sense of that. But with all the inequality that's already existing, that's just gonna make it worse. And it's gonna open so much room for people to be exploited. And it's gonna open so much room for, you know, people just being disposed of. It's almost like now we have to rely on the humane, you know, part of somebody, or like hope that they're gonna be a good person, you know, inside and really give me what they think I'm worth and whatever. But the truth is, people don't give a damn what you're worth or what you think you're worth or whatever. You know, any opportunity a person can get to exploit somebody, they will do it.
So there's a couple of points I just want to touch on here.
Yeah.
She first says like the first thing, well, the best way to reduce inequality is to get people into jobs.
Yes, right? Into jobs. Absolutely.
Well, I like to argue that the best way to reduce inequality is to distribute the wealth of the country proportionally.
Yes.
Yes. Proportionally.
As close as possible to equal.
Yes.
Strive as hard as you can towards equal.
Distribute the country's wealth proportionally.
Yes.
So it will slightly reduce inequality if we got more people working, but it will not change the fact that there's a minority who holds all the wealth.
Yes. How good is your working if you're working for 100 Rand a month? You know what I'm saying? Or 200 Rand a month, or like, what's the point?
So I just want to touch on the inequality part, right? So the main aim of the DA is just to get people working. It's not to redistribute the wealth.
Yes.
So they're trying to protect those who currently have the wealth.
Yes.
And they don't want to do anything to change that status quo or redistribute the wealth.
Absolutely.
They believe, okay, let's just try create a free market.
Yes.
Where those who have the ability to employ people should employ people.
Yeah.
But who are those who have the ability to employ people?
Yes, absolutely. And it's like, well, I don't mind giving them a job, but I'm not going to pay them 3.7. That's the attitude.
So we're gonna get to the job part here. I just want to touch on this part here. That the DA is not interested in wealth equality. They're not interested in that. In fact,
they're finding every way to run away
to avoid that. They're finding every way to avoid wealth equality, because they know that wealth equality is gonna take a lot of privileges away from certain people, and they're trying to protect those people. So now onto the impediments impeding people from employment, as she says, right? She lists all these things like
that's the reason people are not getting yes.
Labor unions. She lists things like minimum wage. So she said this in this clip that.
Are you saying there's no need for those things? Like we have them for no reason? Is that what she's saying? Like.
So she's saying that no, those things of like not being able to fire somebody willy-nilly and not being able to hire somebody willy-nilly is stopping people from being employed.
That's asking for slaves, bruh. Oh my gosh.
Now let's think about this.
Oh my god.
Let's think about this properly.
That's crazy.
I wanna break this down.
Slave master mentality.
I wanna break this down as to why all of this is nonsense.
Yes.
So let's scrap the minimum wage. Let's start with that one. Let's scrap it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So she's putting the power on the people job hunting.
Yes.
To say I can reject.
Yes.
I can reject a fee that I'm offered
absolutely.
and move on to somebody else.
Yes.
Right? Cool. Let's say, because she's neglecting this part. Let's say now you want to be a cashier in a supermarket, right? Ideally, what she's saying is that if ShopRite offers me a wage that's too low, I can go to Checkers. I can go to Checkers, and Checkers will probably offer me a better option that I'm fine with, and then I can work for Checkers, right?
Yeah.
That's what she's saying what's going to happen. But she's neglecting the fact that all these markets collude.
Yes.
So what's gonna happen is Checkers,
They talk to each other and
ShopRite,
they're like,
Pick and
tell them
Pay,
we're not willing to.
Woolworths,
Yes.
all of them.
Absolutely.
They're all gonna decide, no, we're only gonna pay our retail workers 80 Rand an hour.
Yes.
All of them decide that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now the job
And then
hunter.
they're gonna be like, let's see how long they're gonna go on without a job.
Now the job hunter doesn't have any leeway to negotiate because the market has decided
Yes.
what the wage is.
Absolutely. Like they trying to make us stupid, like as if, you know, like people are the actual market that dictates what the market will be, and
So-
it's not the case. It hasn't been that case for a very long time.
That will only work.
In a capitalistic
That will
society.
only work where the job hunters decide what the market value is.
Yes.
It only works if that skill is in demand.
Yes.
Only then
Absolutely.
that will work. So, for example, let's say you are a doctor and you're looking for employment.
Yeah.
right? And it's in demand in this country. Now, when you go to like whatever private institution, whatever, and you say no, they want to hire you. Okay, we're offering you 25,000 Rand a month.
Yes.
Right? You can negotiate to say that no, I've worked.
Because you know it's a scarce skill and it's
I've
in
worked.
demand.
I've worked certain number of years. My degree is expensive. My skill is a shortage.
I deserve this. I
Yes.
want this.
I deserve 30,000 Rand a month. You can negotiate that.
Yeah.
And because the hospital needs you, they're willing to meet you halfway. And be
Absolutely.
like, okay, maybe we can't give you 30, maybe we'll give you
Yes.
27 or something like that. Let's
Yeah.
meet each other halfway. Then now there's a negotiation on market.
Absolutely.
Only if the skill is in demand. Now, if
Yep.
the skill is not in demand, like let's first say, for example, in retail, in construction,
You think you can negotiate?
you think you can
those?
negotiate
No.
your salary there
Absolutely
when they
not.
try to employ you.
Absolutely not.
So that's the one aspect of it, right? You cannot negotiate your market value in industries that where your skill is not scarce.
Yeah.
People are gonna decide that for you. Now on to the second part, where she says the second impediment is like not being able to fire people willy-nilly or get rid of people if they're not doing their job.
Yes.
That is in place to reserve
Unfair dismissals.
unfair dismissal.
and-
Employees' rights.
Yes.
They're preserving the people's rights from being
Absolutely.
exploited.
Like you can't just wake up tomorrow and then feel like you want to fire me, bro. Like things. It's like people's lives are dependent on their employment in so many ways. Like imagine, like you paying for a house, you paying for a car, you paying for whatever your child's school fees, and then just from your boss's a whim, your boss wakes up and then he decides to,
So
like.
not
fire
only,
you.
so not
That's
only
crazy.
not only do you want people to be working at exploitative rates,
Yes.
you also
Want them-
don't want them to have
Job security. They must stay anxious every single day that
Which
it's
if I don't
possible.
perform,
yes,
I could get fired
I
anytime.
could get fired.
That
Or
is-
if I have a bad day, I could get fired. Or I can't go through stuff and not be. in
Or
a
if my manager just
professional-
doesn't like me,
Yes,
I could get fired. anytime.
absolutely.
All these things are in place to protect the worker.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
don't
does she
understand.
think it's craziness
Why-
that we have these things in place?
Why are you trying to remove workers' rights?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you trying to let the market dictate what workers should be paid?
Oh my gosh.
So I understand I understand her saying that
Mm.
if the government was capping,
yes,
was like saying this is how much you can,
yes,
this is the limit you can pay people.
you can pay.
Yeah, but the government is saying you can't pay people any less.
Any
than this.
less, yes.
So the government is not actually
So you're
interfering.
fighting to pay people less, like you?
The government is not actually interfering in action and what the market value is.
Yeah.
They're just saying, "Uti, you can't pay
Yeah,
someone any less than this."
absolutely.
And I don't. And
Because we've taken into account all of that, like
Yeah, the cost of
inflation, cost of
living, all that
living,
stuff like that.
all of that. For a person to be able to survive and to be able to live, this is the minimum that you should give them.
So Helen has neglected a couple of things like collusion. monopolies, duopolies, and all these industries where there's only a finite number of companies can collude to negotiate the market price. For example, supermarkets again, they colluded to increase the prices of eggs. All of them.
Yes.
They did. They colluded to increase the price
And
of
they
eggs.
thought that we're not budging.
Yeah.
Not because the market was dictating in any way, or people were, or the demand went up or down or whatever. It was not influenced in any way by that. But they decided that we can actually get away with charging this amount.
So they can also collude to dictate market value.
Yes.
So they can just decide that now we're only going to charge people a certain rate per hour. And it's up to you if you want to take that or leave it. The aim is not to reduce inequality. The aim is to protect.
I mean, she gave that answer in a question about reducing inequality.
Yeah,
How in her head does she feel that those two correlate in any way?
Also, there's another scenario now that I'd like to play out just to make it, just to show how stupid this thing actually is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say we have a free market. We have a free market. Anybody can create a business and employ people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? You have somebody who's disadvantaged, who has nothing to their name. And then you have somebody who has millions in assets and millions in capital to their name. Put them both in that same market. What is going to happen in that market?
I mean, the market's not going to be fair on the guy that doesn't have anything.
Yes.
So
what's going to happen is the person with the capital and the resources to go and build,
they will dictate
to go and build more businesses is going to become richer. If you make South Africa a free market as it is right now, the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to make the rich richer and the poor poor. It's just going to create more inequality. That's what all of this is going to do. So the only way, again, you're going to be able to make the society more equal is to distribute the wealth. That's what the DA is fighting. They don't want to distribute the wealth. They want the wealth to remain where it is, but they just want to have more. They just want more workforce. For the wealth. Yes, that's all they're trying to.
And right now, all of this labor stuff is limiting how much labor they have access to.
It's a very strange position to take, and I don't understand how she doesn't see that this can lead to exploitation.
Yeah, I really did not understand.
To me, it's just obvious that they're just trying to protect the white capital.
Because there's no way
girlie,
this
she
makes
thinks
sense to you.
That this makes sense for real.
No way.
There's no way.
No way.
And again, if you go back to the whole principle of organizations, the whole principle of organizations is to make as much money as possible.
Yes.
That's their whole principle.
Absolutely.
And if you allow them to exploit workers, they will do that.
Yeah, like they get to maximize profits and spend less on
the workforce.
Yes.
They will do that. So I don't understand why she's not taking all of this into consideration. So again, Helen,
to do it on their own.
Again, it's important for the government to protect its citizens from exploitation.
Yes.
That's why things like minimum wage exists. That's why labor unions exist, to prevent workers from being exploited.
Absolutely.
By organizations. It's as simple as that. Now, if you're trying to remove all of that, you're allowing organizations to exploit people. You're allowing that for that to happen. And
now they won't have any support or any protection from the government.
Yes. So how in what world is that a good idea? In what world? Especially in South Africa, where you have a minority, the wealthy, and then the majority. We already have things like white people earning more than black people for the same work. We already have things like that in this situation as it is. So why don't you actually fight for wealth equality? Yeah. Where it's not only white-owned businesses that are in the JSE.
Absolutely.
Why don't you want black-owned businesses to be in the JSE? That's what you should be fighting for. That's true equality. But again, if you just want to increase the workforce and exploit them, this is the best way to do it.
This is the best way to do it. This is honestly the best way to do it. Way to go, champion of exploitation. Huh?
So
I'm about white people owning South Africa and black people just becoming the labor force, and a few blacks here and there earning shit won't hurt, you know.
But anyway, you guys just let us know what you think about this whole situation.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know if you think having a free market right now where there's no minimum wage and there's no there's no worker protection from labor unions and
Equates to equality?
Equates to equality. Let us know.
Which world is this?
Maybe you can make a better argument.
Yeah, let us know.
But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.
And keep watching. Goodbye.
We'll check you guys in the next one.